All right. So hi everyone, nice meeting you. I'm Astaf from the Finaloop team, well, excited to be here and to share a bit about what we do at Finaloop to support e-commerce owners with their journey in e-commerce. So I will just, I think, share my screen and we're going to jump right in. This is going to be a very practical session, and Finaloop in general is a very practical tool, meaning that right after this call, you'll be able to sign up, get yourself on a trial, see your actual numbers and so on, so you can actually have a great feeling of it. But I'll just give you a quick overview to start with. Let me share my screen. All right. So here's just a super quick, you can see my screen, right? I'm on a different setup today, so just, yeah, okay, here we are. So just generally speaking, just so you know who we are out there, we serve all brand sizes until 7, 8 figure brands, and we help them reconcile their revenue and stay on track with their financials. Some really awesome names are DoorDry and Marcella New York and Tabs and so on. And basically, how we do it is we connect to all your apps. So we connect to your Shopify, Amazon, Walmart Marketplace, Etsy. We have lots of native integrations. And then what we do is we actually replace your accountant. So we connect to your sales channels, we connect to your banks, your credit cards. We pull the data automatically. I know one of the questions was, would I need to copy the data like in QuickBooks, or would I need to use a connector? The answer is no. You would actually, what you will be able to do is just when you ramp up, you connect your shops, your credit cards, your banks, and we pull the data automatically in. And then we actually build your books. So we use a lot of technology, advanced technology and machine learning. And then we actually build your P&L, cash flow, balance sheet, so you can actually see your profits. And the good part of it, which I'm going to say about 20 times this in the next 30 minutes probably, it's all in real time because we have native integration. So it doesn't depend on you copying anything over, or your accountant inaccurately copying something else over, or importing CSVs. Most of the banks are automatically connected. We use Plaid, which is the leading banking integrator. And we have, as I said, native integrations to most of the marketplaces. The cool thing about it is that we, unlike QuickBooks or other solutions out there, we are e-commerce focused only. So this means that we do not have a general ledger or a general kind of structure of chart of accounts or books. Rather, we only have a fixed e-commerce chart of accounts. And because we work with thousands of e-commerce owners, we know how to build a very good and detailed one. And we have a lot of categories for you to use because we've seen most of the scenarios out there for e-commerce. So basically, as I said, we connect your apps, we build your books, and then you get real-time accurate financial reports. We do 100% of your revenue reconciliation. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're doing it today, or I'm not sure if you have an accountant, which is like, I guess you know better than me, very costly, a very huge, a big expense. An accountant is usually also not specialized or an expert in e-commerce. There aren't a lot out there. But even if you have one, or if you want to do this on your own and create your books and keep tracks on your books, and create your P&L and look at your margins, it's very hard to keep up doing it on a regular basis. Usually accountants will give you the books, I don't know, 3 weeks down the next month. But e-commerce is a very fast evolving industry. You'll probably have competitors popping up every now and then. Things are running very quickly. You're pouring marketing money. So you better be on top of your margins. With Finaloop, it's possible to be on top of them almost every day. So this is the main really advantage using Finaloop, is that you really get 100% reconciliation automatically done. and 90 to 95% of your expenses are categorized automatically. So if you would have used other tools, like generic tools like QuickBooks or others, then what you would have to do is say, okay, if I have this Klaviyo expense, this is marketing. If I have this, I don't know, trip card expense, this is this. While with Finaloop, we already, because we're working with e-commerce brands mostly, we're familiar with a lot of these vendors, and then we can classify those automatically. So this actually spares like 90% of the manual work and time put into creating books. So this is like in high level how we do the magic. And just to summarize, growing brands and even starting brands which cannot afford a full-time bookkeeper or accountant, and a lot of brand owners, they're great at marketing, they have great ideas, they know how to bring great products into life, but accounting is not something they were, I don't know, really trained on, or not part of the job that they like the most. So with Finaloop, this is really a place where you can use Finaloop's experts, use our technology. You can skip old-fashioned general ledgers, connectors to get your sales data in, lots of spreadsheets and so on. We really kind of, our goal is to help you streamline all of that. And I'm going to show you how it actually looks like. And the reason I can do it is because, as I told you before, I'll just share my screen again here. The reason I can easily do it is because you can all also easily do it, because you can sign up, and I think Amanda can share a link later on, so you can actually use that to click on and connect, and you get a feeling of your books, and you get, when you connect, you have 2 months of data on your P&L. So this means that you're not only going to be able to look forward, you can also look 2 months backward on your profits and your activity. And usually a lot of our customers also ask for what we call a catch-up, saying, okay, my books are great, I understand this, I want this from the beginning of the year, because eventually what we do is we allow you to file, like these reports are 100% auditable, legit. You can file taxes based on that. You can file for capital, for loans, for investment, and all of that fun stuff. So if that's okay, I'll continue to the actual live account, and then I'll pause for a few minutes for further question. Okay.
That's great. Go ahead.
All right, so this is my demo account, basically. So the data is kind of quirky, but it's a good idea of how this looks like. So basically, once you connect all your sales, your marketplaces, and by the way, a lot of brands are multi-channel, right? So a lot of brands are on have either multiple shops or on multiple marketplaces. Once you connect all of that, on our dashboard, you're able to see your sales and profits over time. So let's say you have this busy season coming on, Black Friday around the corner. You can see how your profits were doing then compared to last year. You can see your cash flow, which is very important if you want to stock up on inventory, decide, your next course of actions. Are you hiring someone part-time to help you with your operations and so on? You can clearly see how your cash flow looks like and plan accordingly. And also, this is like a nice overview, a nice dashboard to see how your sales are doing across all these marketplaces, how much money you have in each bank, your credit cards, your undeposited funds, which happens a lot because, and by the way, we're connected both to your bank's credit cards, marketplaces, and also your payments processors. So that's how we know that you have PayPal holding your funds, or Shopify holding your funds, and this is very important to keep a real track of how much capital you really have. So this is the general overview. Just as a note, we recently add a profitability tab, which is a very, very cool one. And this is really, really focused, for years we've been doing the bookkeeping part. We, I think, are the leading platform that has like consolidated real data, financial data. So we're not asking you for assumptions about how much you pay for shipping or how much you pay your vendors. We have this actual data from your bank accounts. So a lot of our customers ask to see how their net sales are doing over time, their margins, how they're doing over time, how their cost analysis is looking, how much of my expenses are variable marketing or OPEX, how that is a percentage of your net sales, and so on. So there's some great profitability insights as well. And we build all of that, and what I'm going to say now is relevant for everything in our platform. We build with our customers, so and with great operators from the market. So this profitability dashboard was built with Taylor Holiday, which you probably know. He operates a very, very impressive brand, and he has a lot of takeaways about how to track profits. So this is really in a high level what you'll be getting on a daily basis: your summary, your profitability. And I'm going to show you the magic. So once everything is connected, you can see per bank account all your transactions coming in. So I see a FedEx transaction. I see I paid Klaviyo $30. I see another Amazon Marketplace expense, ShipStation I paid $179, and so on. So everything comes in, flowing in automatically. No copy paste, nothing you need to do. Most of it is automated. Once we get the transactions, then we categorize it. This is, again, based on our knowledge working with a lot of e-commerce brands. So we know that Clicky is affiliate marketing. We know that G Suite is software and subscriptions. And I'm going to show you what happens with these categories eventually in a minute. But then everything is really, most of it, like 90 to 95% of it, is classified correctly. So by the way, your TikTok shop, if you have one, if you got a payout from TikTok shop, we know that it's sales. And by the way, we check that the sales data coming in from TikTok shop actually fits the payout that you're getting, just as an example. Same for Stripe and Shopify and so on. Now, for the few transactions that we do not know how to classify independently, so let's say you have the citrus ads, which is something, I don't know, a vendor we never worked with or none of our customers worked with, then we also have a flow that helps you categorize it correctly, so it will be in the right place in your P&L and balance sheet, so you can safely file for taxes and safely make good business decisions. And we assume that you don't have solid accounting background, so we help you with it. So we help you with the correct flows. Let's say this was an IRS expense. We would ask you more questions that are tax related, so we know where to put that cost correctly into your reports. So each type of transaction that we recognize, we help you classify with the right info. So let's say this is citrus ad and we're not familiar with it. So what you can do is you can select a category and you can tell us, listen, this is a marketing contractor. And you can also tell us to create a rule about it. So say, okay, whenever I have a citrus ad expense, this is always a marketing contractor. Don't ask that again. So in the future, you'll have less and less work doing to categorize. I'm not going to go, there's a lot to say. I'm not going to deep dive into everything, but I'm also mentioning, just so you know, you can also split the categories. Sometimes you pay someone like a vendor or some contractor you're working with, and you have to split the cost to COGS and marketing because they both sold your product, for example, but they're also influencers and they were, putting it out there. So you can split your category and you can also spread it over time, but that's like a whole other area. And if you ramp up and you have any questions about that, of course, I'll explain also how to contact us and ask all these questions in a few minutes. By the way, same if you have a personal expense, right? So we help you think if you need to categorize it as a personal expense or not. And this is very important so we can balance out everything we need from the balance sheet. And I'll show you that in a few seconds. Once we categorize all your transactions, and the ones that we cannot, we will ask you to categorize. This is also a cool part. So think about it like if you had an accountant, he would call you up once a month, basically, and ask you a bunch of questions. Next month, he will probably ask you the same questions, and then again and again. And then there's some communication. With us, what we do is we go over the transactions and we go over the books. And if we have questions, then what we do is we have this mission page. So we tell you, listen, you have some payouts and transfers that are unmatched. Please take a look. Or, hey, we noticed some loans that you've taken. Please put some details into them so we can correctly process them and put the data in the right place in the balance sheet. If you have uncategorized transactions, we'll tell you, hey, we noticed some uncategorized transactions. Please take a look. So this is also important to know that we are kind of helping you drive this and keep your books up to date. If you're keeping your missions up to date and all of that, and by the way, that will require approximately an hour or two a month for you, I warmly recommend to do a weekly kind of regular habit to take a look at your transactions and missions and go in every week, I don't know, for 10, 15 minutes, clear those out. And my last recommendation will also be to come in on a daily basis and look at your profits, but that's another habit that you'll probably over time might create to keep in the e-commerce game. Eventually, what you'll be able to get from classifying and acting on your missions is you'll be able to get a very nice P&L. So P&L is a profit and loss report. You can view it by month. You can view the percentage or the actual value. You can choose the amount of time, like the time range to look at. And eventually, what we offer here is a very, very good breakdown of your sales. Again, because it's all in native integration, we can show you how much of your sales, how your gross sales were looking like, how much was shipping income, your discounts, your refunds and returns, all broken down very nicely. Seeing the gross revenue divided is very important for tax reasons. You can't file tax only on net basis. So it's also an important part. So we do this very nice breakdown, and then we also calculate your COGS for you. So we have a few methods. If you're drop shipping, we have a solution for that. If you're not drop shipping, we also have a sales-based mechanism. So we can calculate your direct and indirect costs in real time. This is important because COGS is a significant, let's say, a significant expense. So basically, if you're drop shipping, we'll take all the POs and count them as costs. If you're not, then you can put us an average, give us an average cost per product. And whenever a sale is done and a product was fulfilled, we will calculate the relevant COGS, like the amount of products times the cost that you put in. By the way, if you're using Shopify, we sync that from Shopify. If you're using Amazon, we take it from Amazon. So there's a lot of automation in place as well to keep it as simple as possible. And basically, there are a lot of categories here. Someone asked, I think the questions, Amanda, you sent before, someone asked, like, do we allow tagging the expenses and so on? So we have so many categories and when you classify expenses, again, we classify 90 to 95% of them for you. But the 5% that you do need to classify, we have tons of examples, tons of categories. And the reason it's a list of categories is so we can make sure that it gets in the right place in the P&L. So this is a report that you can use to file your taxes without any doubts or concerns. There's a very detailed kind of breakdown here, but I really think that once you see your own data, it's really the best. Yeah, by the way, if you're selling on Amazon, then processing fees and selling fees and so on, totally necessarily trackable profits. And then you can always look at your net profit before taxes, your net profit, gross profit, operating profit, and so on. So this is your live P&L report. I do have to say that when you start using Finaloop, it's a software. Like, we use a lot of technology to make this real time, to make this as easy as possible. A lot of rules, a lot of machine learning, and so on. But there are human beings behind us. Okay, so when you onboard, we have a bunch of accountants and CPAs who go over your transactions. They make sure the setup is correct. Unlike an accountant, which takes, I don't know, months to onboard, we will take, I don't know, a day or two, might be 3. If we see things that aren't looking well, or if we notice a bank account that isn't connected, we'll let you know. Your P&L will be ready. And then once you ramp up and you decide to stay with us, we'll also build your balance sheet. And we'll also build your cash flow report. So the 3 of those are actively available for you at any given moment within the platform. Just to give you a quick glance of the balance sheet. You can see, by the way, I'm not a trained CPA. So for me, balance sheets are pretty boring. But it's a very important artifact, and you have everything you need here. Your current assets, your long-term assets, any loans you're taking to a related party, to your own, like business owner loans, any prepaid expenses, equity, everything, liabilities, everything is here in this balance sheet. And everything is also here in the all your cash flow. Again, which I explained how important it is to manage your cash flow. It's everything here. So you are very, very clear on how much cash in hand you have, or how much change in cash you have, and so on. Also, I want to say, okay, I have a lot to say, but 2 last notes before I follow the questions on the chat. You can also create invoices within Finaloop. So we have this, it's pretty easy, so I'm not going to drill down too much, but basically you can go into here, create an invoice, send it to a customer, to a vendor, send it over, add discounts, add whatever you need, add a type of method, payment method, and so on. And this invoice will obviously increase your account receivable. You can also add bills if you're paying bills and you want to keep close track on it. It depends on the size. Usually, brands that are starting and are below $1 million, it really depends if they really need to keep track on bills or not. But just so you know, you can also create your bills. And as I told you before, you can also run your inventory. So you can either do purchase-based, so any PO will be considered inventory, or you can do sales-based, which means every product will get a price and we'll calculate the COGS. One thing I didn't mention about invoices, sorry that I'm jumping around, the invoices you create, or by the way, even payments, sometimes you create an order which is paid in cash or not on Shopify, or paid somehow, somehow differently. In that case, you can always link the order or the payment or the invoice to a transaction that we pulled from your bank account. Okay, so you can always reconcile and make sure that your books are accurate. There are a lot of questions here on chat. So let me, if you wanna put in more questions, please go ahead. I'll start reading them in the meantime. Oh, I see a while ago someone asked if you didn't you see my screen so far, or you did?
We did. We think it's the person that was looking at it was on mobile on their phone. So
Okay.
I think it's all set now.
Okay. Someone, you asked about catch up. So yeah, Amanda, you answered that correctly. By the way, I do want to say why we charge for catch up. We charge on catch up because we have people, CPAs, that are actually building it for you. It's the most competitive price you'll get in the market, I have to say, because we utilize technology. If you'll go to an accountant to build your books from the beginning of the year, they'll take a lot of it will be high expense. But we do have people going over it because we want to be very responsible for the taxes that you're filing. About taxes, by the way, we also have, let's say we have all our customers almost work with a partner of ours. He's practically one of the team, but he's an expert in tax filing. So basically, if you ramp up on Finaloop and you decide to go on, then we can top the tax filing to your subscription. And this tax preparer really knows how to work with the Finaloop reporting and so on. So instead of once a year, and again, we keep your books closed almost every day, right? Because we have the data actively refreshed coming in. At the end of the year, someone asked about inventory balancing it out at the end of the year. I think it was Adam, maybe in the prepared questions. So yeah, at the end of the year, we have a CPA. When we come close to tax season, by the way, we'll bombard you with reminders and email that your tax season is around the corner, so you can help you prepare ahead. And then we ask for your balances, inventory, if we need to correct the numbers. If we see anomalies, if we see something looking off, we'll resurface that. And the goal is really to have the reports as ready as possible to file your taxes. Our tax preparer also logs into Finaloop and it works with your Finaloop reports and can help you with that. And he's an e-commerce. Every person we work with in Finaloop and any of our partners are e-commerce experts. So it's not working with a general CPA. It's working with a very much expert e-commerce CPA. Amanda, you answered all the questions so nicely.
I wanted to help.
Tremendous help. So yeah, you can keep tracks of cogs over time for sure. Like if it changes, definitely possible. I see a question from Ola.
Yes, hi, good
Ola, go
evening.
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I had a question since you were talking about tax. By the way, thank you for coming in to walk us through this process. I wanted to ask a question concerning, I don't know if this program or this application helps you simulate the sales tax that you have to pay. An example for, let's say, Amazon, right? And let me put this a scenario out here. Let's say you use a prep center. And that means you don't have to pay sales tax on those things that you send to prep center, right? But you need to file those taxes depending on your state. For my state, I think it's every month that you have to remit those sales tax. Does this application help you sift out this once it integrates with your Amazon to identify how much specifically you'll be making payments? Or how does this help us navigate that sales tax process?
So it's a good question. So basically, I'll try to separate. Like taxes is a nightmare, right? So taxes are like personal taxes, business taxes. Someone also, Elvin, asked about quarterly filings, which some state requires. There's nexus taxes and so on. So everything related to the bookkeeping part, keeping your numbers intact so you can file for taxes, is Finaloop. Anything related to business taxes, like and to personal taxes as well, we can find the best partner for you to help you. By the way, also quarterly filings. Sales taxes is a whole different world, and we actually work closely with our colleagues at ZAMP. There are other like tools out there. We do not calculate sales taxes. It's like this very, it's not niche, but it's like a very specific area that we do not like we respect our our colleagues there, and we're not stepping into. So you can definitely, I warmly recommend checking out ZAMP. A lot of our customers use them, and they really like it. So check that one out. And there are other sales tax solutions, but that's not what we cover, Ola. But you definitely should look into that as well.
All right, thank you. I mean, thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that. Did you say ZAMP?
ZAMP.
ZAMP?
Yeah, ZAMP. Let me.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
By the way, I was also, just to cover some of the questions that we got. Sorry, my multitasking abilities have deteriorated. I added the ZAMP link to the channel. So basically, I got great other questions that Amanda sent before. Maybe I'll highlight a few of them because they are a very interesting one. Would this be the only accounting service we need for bookkeeping? So up until a certain size, up until a certain revenue stream, let's say, I don't know, 1 to 2 million, 2 million, like 0 to 2 million or something like that, this can definitely be your main accounting go-to. Again, it depends on the amount of time you have free to do it, but we make sure that it's the minimal effort and time as possible. And if you have questions, we have a little chat button where you can ask us questions, consult with our CPAs. We have an accounting team and CPAs behind the scenes that will answer your question. If you're not sure, for example, about how to categorize something, or I don't know, last week I talked to someone, she's an influencer and she has like expenses that are like presentation related, and how do I classify that and so on. We're here to help to make sure that you classify everything correctly. So that's definitely an option. And we also have, once our companies, or once your e-commerce activity really grows and it outgrows your ability to keep track independently, then we also have a managed service. So we also have an accountant that can actually let's say, work with you closely to review books on a monthly basis and so on. But I think in a really in a reasonable revenue stream, it's totally doable. We have a lot of customers that just skip their accounting service. skipped QuickBooks, and kind of went all in with Finaloop. It's the majority of our customers, actually. And to Jen's question about do we offer our service or software to use on your own, then yes, then you can actually use it on your own, because a lot of the heavy lifting we're already doing for you, like the categorization, the getting the data in, and so on. And then what you have left is really, I don't know, categorize 5% of your transactions, which is not bad at all. Andrew, you raise your hand.
Yeah, so for example,
Sorry, go ahead.
so for example, let's say you buy some products and it doesn't sell. Now that's going to be logged as COGS, but now let's say I decide to donate it. Now it's a tax write-off, right? Now that can be, switched to a different like category.
Yes, yes, it can. So on the COGS, and it depends. Like, there are a few ways of doing it, and it's probably this is a good example, by the way. Like, I'm here on the call, you're asking questions, I'm telling you, yes, of course, we have an option on the COGS page to add like by the way, it's also if you have inventory that, I don't know, for some reason is damaged, right? And so on. So we have options to add these different incidents and categories, so it can affect your P&L and balance sheet and your inventory balances. Ongoingly, if you have these questions and you're not sure, because it's hard to know, right? Then whenever you write on the little chat button on the right, you just type in, "Hey, I have a question. I'm donating this amount. Can you help me with that?" And you'll get a decent answer within, I don't know, a few hours a day or something like that. So the answer is yes. And also, I use this to explain that there are real human beings behind this. If any of you used other robust tools, you probably know that this is an exception.
I
So
would love to touch base on that. So I have been an avid QuickBooks user for 10 to 12 years, and so I have a lot of bookkeeping experience, and so I've seen it all, right? And I've also used like CRMs and things like that. But inside Finaloop, it's so finely tuned and to the point. And anytime I have a question, and I have asked a lot of questions, I get I get answers from Finaloop not immediately, but within a reasonable time frame. I'm not waiting days for answers. Finaloop is on top of it. Whoever does their customer service, I am so thankful because, I was ingrained into QuickBooks, and for having that much experience inside QuickBooks, something that actually took my focus off and wanted me to change everything that's wrong with QuickBooks, Finaloop gets right. So that's just my 2 cents, and I'm not just saying that. I actually use Finaloop, and I'm obsessed with it.
thanks, Amanda. I love how it sounded, and I really have to say also to add to Amanda's experience, that we really build this with our customers. So we aim to make sure that you're getting the best, and we keep evolving. I also have a question here about the COGS piece, Aish, I think from you. So you can either, because we have a lot of integrations, if, for example, you're on Shopify and you add the COGS per product, we'll pull that from Shopify. If you don't, because some just don't, or some use, I don't know, if you're using Walmart Marketplace, they don't have an API for COGS. Too much information, maybe just telling you the technical aspect of it. So then we overcome it by allowing you to automatically add a CSV with your product COGS in bulk, in one time. And that also can be a price, a COG that will update. Like, you can say from January to March, each product costs me, I don't know, $1. From March to June, every product cost me 125 because of inflation and so on. So we automate as much as possible. For example, we now are kicking off a native integration with TikTok. We'll be the first in the market. So we're always trying to be first in technology, so we can really empower you to have updated books.
Sorry. Sorry, are you able to show just a preview of the inventory tab and then go click products, and where it will say, like, sometimes if there's a cog missing, it'll be like, hey, this cog is missing. What is it? Like, that's what I do on Money Mondays. Like, I just go into my books, I see if there's anything to be logged, and Finaloop is pretty spot on. Like the only thing that they really don't know is any kind of like local companies. If it's a major big brand, they know what it is because other e-commerce sellers are already using it. So if Kohl's comes up, Finaloop's not like, was this personal? Finaloop knows that you just bought finished inventory. So, anyways, all of that to say, can you show the inventory screen and the COGS and the products?
Sure. So one thing I don't like about my demo account is that I'm set to a specific inventory method, which is what we call unit-based, which is a very advanced, complicated one. But I think the idea is quite the same. So, for example, in my case, the mission that, and remember I told you that our accountants will speak to you through this mission page. So for me, I have negative on hands unit, for example, but you will see here, for example, 10 products are missing COGS. And then you'll check it out, and then you'll be able to see, and again, imagine this writes 2 products with with missing COGS, okay? So you'll actually see here and easily navigate to the units that are missing COGS. And then here you'll have an option to actually update the COG per unit. Again, this isn't exactly the same method because I'm using a different one on the demo account, unfortunately. But the idea is the same. We'll put a notification, an alert for you. And the reason we're doing it, by the way, is because we can't be, let's say, we want your P&L and your books to be as accurate as possible. So if we do not have a cost for a product, then we'll alert it anywhere possible in the missions or around here. So you add them because otherwise we can't calculate your inventory or your COGS expense in real time. So all these reddish things here will be that. Same, by the way, goes to, I don't know, banks, transactions missing, because nothing is perfect, right? So in a perfect world, everything flows in nicely and so on. But sometimes, I don't know, your bank might have a missing transaction. We'll notice that because we do the reconciliation, right? And we'll let you know. Or, for example, you started using a new processor, right? So you switched. A lot of our customers use the profit data and the expenses to negotiate prices and so on. So, for example, we noticed a customer using Braintree as a payment processor, but it's not connected. So we'll pop this message asking you to connect it.
And I like that you can do 2 different ways of doing the inventory. Like that one that you just talked about, the 2 negative on-hand units. That's what Adam was talking about, where he had heard that you have to manually enter in your FBM units, but where we're doing sales-based, we don't have to do that. It's just, if we have a sale and the Finaloop product inventory doesn't understand or doesn't know yet how much it was for COGS, it'll be like, hey, you just sold this. How much did it cost? And you don't have to be obsessed with it and go in there every single day, but some people are if you have the time. But if you don't, just do it on Mondays. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Right, and also to that, I also want to highlight something. And again, because I want to be very honest, and I want you to make sure your books are correct, right, and nothing is missing out. So with FBM, the only thing we do not know, because it's not fulfilled by Amazon. If it's fulfilled by Amazon, we know about restocks. With FBM, one thing we don't know is the restock. Because you get a return. We know about the return, but some of them you can resell, right? So that's usually, and by the way, the volume there is usually not that impactful. And even if you don't put your restocks or you don't kind of inform us about your restocks during the year, at the end of the year, when we prepare your books and close your books, we will ask. We will know that you're using FBM, and we will ask you to give us the totals, and we will make sure that your numbers are, the amounts are offsetted and correct. So what I'm saying is that even if you don't have, you're not, I don't know, a lot of you have other jobs, daytime jobs, I don't know, we have your backs. Like at the end of the year, at the end of the period, we'll take a look and ping you or nudge you about things that are missing. I also see Elvin's question. If you're using a different software and you want to transfer over, we do not import data from other softwares, honestly, because sometimes it's like comparing apples to oranges. Usually what you have on QuickBooks Zero or others is a different chart of accounts. Honestly, in many cases, customers hop on the Finaloop and they discover their books weren't accurate because they weren't using an e-commerce specialized platform and so on. So that's where we do a catch-up. So a catch-up would be building your books, and that will have a fee, of course, but it really depends on your size. So the bigger your business is, the size will be bigger, but we also always discount it for new customers to make it easier, to make the change easier for you. But you can be confident that the books will be as accurate as possible for tax filing. Ola, you had another question?
Yes, there's some sort of maybe a rookie question or something, because I hear you say COGS, and I'm assuming that that's cost of goods sold, right?
Yes, sorry,
Oh,
I should have.
okay, yes. So, but let's say you have some sort of so no, let me rephrase the question. So what do you classify as that in your books? Is it the price that I mean, whatever you spend in purchasing that thing you're selling, that's what you put as the cost of goods sold, right?
So yes, and there are direct costs and indirect costs. So let's say you have packaging, you bought, or let's say, I don't know, you sell shoes and you give an extra set of or I don't know, or you add a card or whatever. That's also a cost of that's indirect cost, for example. So all of that will be considered, and in the P&L you can see that we have COGS, which are split into indirect and direct. So all of that will be factored in. I can also show you, just as example, let me show you.
Yeah, so while you do that, so I guess my question is centered around how do you then identify the indirect cost of goods sold? How do you identify it on the application, showing that this is actually an expense, but is directly linked to my cost of goods sold? I guess that's just my question.
It's a good question. So let's say you can see here, for example, in purchases and inventory, what we include. So by the way, everything, because we work with so many e-commerce brands, we already know a lot of it. You'll be surprised. And what we're unsure of, we'll leave a transaction that is unclassified, and then you'll tell us. For example, you say, anytime you see a vendor labels, that's packaging material. And you can say create a rule. And then whenever we see a label, an amount from labels, then we'll classify it as packaging material and we'll go into your inventory costs as incidentals, right? And it depends, okay? And then basically everything shipping and freight, shipping between warehouses, right? Like freight in, I'm not sure, like if you're dropshipping, it's not relevant, but for a lot of people it is. So all these expenses, either we automatically, for example, cargo bot, usually it's shipping between warehouses. So we know we already classify it, but you can definitely teach us. And everything inventory related will be appearing here, and then you can, and I warmly suggest, like in the first month or two, to review this, okay? Like you would review, I don't know, an accountant work or your own work, right? You just double check it so you can feel confident that our rules are really a fit to your business. But once the rules are all set up and once it's all fine-tuned, then it's probably like it reduces a lot of manual work and you won't need to pay a lot of attention to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime.
Another question. So when you sell an item, and then, when you send an item to Amazon FBA, and then it doesn't sell and it's auto returned to you, and now you have this product back. If I put that back into FBA, I send it back in because I don't want to accrue the storage fees that Amazon has for us. So I send it back in and hope it sells in another 3 months. That COGS is going to be the same.
Yes.
Okay. Because
You mean when you're saying you're keeping it, you're not sending it back to Amazon, you're keeping it right? Did I get your question correctly? Maybe I didn't.
Either way, I guess if I'm keeping it and
Yeah.
sending it somewhere else, like
Mhm.
FBM it, put it on Walmart, put it anywhere else, that cost of goods is still going to be the same, correct?
Correct, because as far as we're concerned, we saw a sell. The order status, because we fetch all the orders, right? And we have order statuses. The order is fulfilled, right? It's not returned. So as far as we know, this order went out, the product went out, then that's and that's a cost of goods that you had. However, if you don't file it as restock and you sell it again, then you can always ask us for a fix. You can say, listen, this is actually, and again, we couldn't know it. Sorry for that. We cannot know it automatically if you're doing it, if it's not visible to us in any way. But if there are exceptions, they can always reach out to us and say, listen, I have 10 orders this month where the cogs should not be, or we have a 200 amount of cogs, which you need to take off of our cogs because I did an internal restock, which you cannot see. So any exception like that, you can definitely write to our team, and we'll handle with a journal entry or anything like that. I keep talking about how to do it, but just so you know, there's this little button here on the bottom right, and whenever you send us a message, as much info you can put, the better, because then we can help you out with it. You just explain the details, and we'll. And by the way, our accountants will make your life hard. Okay, they'll ask more questions. They'll make sure that it's exactly the thing that we need to do in order to get that across the line.
Okay. I guess my confusion is so okay, so I will reach out to Finaloop this way, but in my brain, this is how I'm thinking of it, right? I bought it, I sent it into Amazon. I got it back, but I didn't buy it again. You know what I mean? So when I send it to Amazon, I didn't really have a cogs this time. You know what I mean? So I don't want it to look like I bought it twice.
You sent to Amazon. Where did you buy it from? You bought it from the vendor.
Yeah, the vendor.
Okay. Okay. So then it depends on, okay, as I thought you were referring to restock, sorry. Then
All
it
right.
depends on the method you're choosing. If you're choosing what we call PO based, purchase order based, then whenever you're buying the products, then it will be considered COGS. Okay, so that's one accounting method. We didn't make it up. That's how it works. So if you're doing PO based, meaning considering COGS, this usually means you don't hold inventory. So let's say you bought the products and you want to say, whenever I buy a product, I paid $1,000 for this PO, consider it as my COGS for this month. The sales based means that whenever you have a PO, we will not consider that as COGS. Okay, we will only consider it as COGS when the sale was done.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yes, we're doing sales based. So, okay, that cleared it up. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Otherwise, we'll be double
And
counting it, and we don't.
that was
So
my
it's
concern. I was like, oh, it's gonna look like we spent way too much money on this item.
no. You choose when you ramp up, when you onboard, you choose either that or that, and then we calculate that based on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think I don't know, unless anyone has more questions, and you can definitely go for it. But maybe just to kind of summarize on my end, just about like what usually our customers do, and kind of timelines and what you should be expecting. Then as I told you, if you hop on the Finaloop website or follow Amanda's link, then you will be able to start your onboarding. It will take you, I think, 4 minutes to connect Shopify, Amazon, whatever you have, connect bank accounts. And then our team will be processing your books, and then you'll have 2 weeks to decide if it's a fit. And yeah, moving forward, you can keep yourself assured that we have accountants who will build your books. They will close your books by the end of the year, so you can file taxes, you can track your profits in real time, and grow your business with confidence.
This was so helpful. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions? Elvine does.
Hi, sorry. I need to unmute myself. So, please, I'm still a little confused about the catch-up. I know you explained it at length. So let's say I go ahead and sign up today. You say you back up to 2 months, correct?
So free of charge, we back up 2 months.
2 months. Okay. So then when I link my Amazon and credit card and all that, so the data pull from this system will be 2 months data. Whatever is before that, if I need that backed up, then I'll have to sign up for the catch-up. Is that what it is?
Exactly. You got it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Just needed to clarify. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime.
It's like Adam had a question. Is there something that is important for us to track that Finaloop does not?
So I think if you need more kind of advanced, I'm not sure if it's relevant for the community of people that we have here, but let's say you're assembling products, and or you have like these, when you assemble products, you have these recipes and so on. So all of these inventory tracking can be done outside of, and should be done outside of Finaloop. If for any reason you have things like, I don't know, royalties that you're getting or paying, then that can also be outside. That should be tracked. Sales taxes definitely need another solution to put in place. I think it's very much a per basis kind of, because it's an endless, like everyone can set up their operations in any way. These, like the things I mentioned, are the recurring things that I hear every now and then. However, whenever you ramp up and I know, and you're not sure if we do keep track or not, and it's a very specific or unique part, then feel free to ask. But I think these are the main things that our customers keep track outside, like inventory units as well. If you don't do it on Shopify or Amazon, a lot of e-commerce brands do it on Amazon or Shopify. But if you don't, then that's also not in Finaloop, because we're not the marketplace, right? So, but I think these are the common things that pop up.
I think JP had a question about payroll, but before we get to that, I think if we're Adam, I know Adam's a new seller. Finaloop does it all. I don't see any reason to leave the platform for any other reason other than taxes. But what about payroll, like JP had asked?
So payroll also, so usually it depends. So a lot of sellers that are like just starting off, a lot of them, like a lot of our customers use I don't know, Gusto or any other payroll solution out there, and there are a lot. And then also some of them do the transactions, right? So they pay wire or whatever. And then if they need to we can't help you figure out the payroll, the taxes, and so on, but we can help you break it down in Finaloop to the correct segments or types. But we're not a payroll solution. That's something that, like, there are products out there that are specifically specializing in payroll. So that's kind of something that that you'll probably need to take on something, or someone to help you with payroll, or like it's not a classic bookkeeping, accounting. It's not always linked to accounting and bookkeeping.
Right. Now, just so other people are aware, we pay contractors. Like our contractors aren't on payroll, and the contractors are people like virtual assistants. And then sometimes we hire his cousin to come help pack up a big shipment for FBA. We just cut him a check, and then we classify that as a contractor transaction inside of our books under transactions.
Exactly.
And then Andrew had a question about drop shipping with eBay, for example. How would you categorize something like that? Obviously, you would have a cog somewhere, right?
Yes. So some of the so for eBay, I might be confusing eBay and Etsy here. Sorry. For eBay, I think we are, or we aren't, sorry. Okay, so there are two options. With a lot of our platforms, I'll take, for example, Etsy. We communicate, we get the sales data. For eBay as well, we get the sales data, but we don't get the COGS data. So in that case, once every few weeks, you can log in per product, how many units were depleted. So you can actually feed us with that data. I can tell you that I have Etsy and eBay mixed in my mind for some reason. I'm so sorry. But definitely, and by the way, if you're using eBay, but you're also using Shopify, just as an example, sometimes people kind of send their orders through Shopify, and then we can actually process it and get the COGS. But eBay's API, as far as I remember, does not include the COGS, but we do have other ways for you to let us know how much COGS were actually accounted for. And you can do it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. It depends how important it is for you to log it in.
And so when that transaction happens, we'll get a little notification in the inventory section under products, and it'll be like missing COGS, right?
So in that case, because like it's not the you will have the COG amount, like we will know probably Andrew will say, I don't know, this product costs me $1, but you will have to tell us once a month or once a week how many COGS were bought. Now, if you don't do it on a regular basis, we'll definitely nudge you when we close the books and say, hey, I mean, this doesn't make sense that you didn't have a COGS expense. Okay.
Yeah, and you guys are really on top of it. In the missions, it'll be like, hey, we're missing this. And I try to stay on top of it as fast as possible. But I've noticed that it's really not something you need to obsess over. Like you have time. Like once a week, once a month, it's fine.
Definitely. And I can say that a lot of brand owners or a lot of sellers, when they hop on Finaloop, they get really addicted to the P&L, and like they follow it on a daily basis, and what they see, and they know the COGS, like, and that also makes them proactively update their COGS and so on. And we try to make it as easy as possible to go in, add the numbers very easily, and so on.
I will say Andrew's obsessed with the P&L. He wants it like daily. And I'm like, dude, you gotta calm down. He's like, well, I want to know where we're spending or where we're costing the most money and how to pivot faster. So I love that Finaloop has it in real time, and you don't have to wait 2 weeks into the following month to get the previous month's P&L, which you do with any other accounting firm that's doing your books inside of like QuickBooks or whatever. It takes time because they're a firm, they have lots and lots of people. Obviously, Finaloop has dedicated people to your account. So you're their responsibility as soon as they clock into work that day. And I love that I can be like, okay, well, I'll run the P&L for the last 30 days, not necessarily the 1st through the 30th. I'll look at it straight to the last 30 days from September 14th to October 14th and see how many refunds we've done. Okay, what I mean, you can get this. I know a lot of people on Amazon work with Inventory Lab to create our shipments and everything. So you can get it there too, but to see it in your books, the refunds and refunds, what's that other, I don't know.
Returns and yeah.
Refunds and returns, like to see it there and know exactly what product is causing your problem. So you don't order more of that, right? Or maybe you try that on a different platform or so on and so forth. I love that I can see it immediately right then and there. Of course, you can see it in your Amazon store Seller Central account too. But here, it's showing you that it's costing you money and how much is associated with that, with the fees and everything. And I love that I can pivot faster with Finaloop.
Definitely, that's just definitely the reason. By the way, just a cool story I didn't start off with, but our founder is actually an e-commerce operator himself, and he happens to be an accountant, a very successful one. He was a partner at PwC, which is one of the biggest, like the big four firms out there. And when he created, like he got to about 6-7 figures e-commerce business, so he did a great job there. And he really noticed that there wasn't a tool that was very good for e-commerce, for accounting. And he hired a bunch of accountants who did endless mistakes on his books, which made him either pay too much taxes, made him amend the taxes, made his profits not look accurate. So this is why he spent a lot of time and efforts building Finaloop. That's how we ended up being here. And our main goal is to make sure that brand owners or sellers can optimize their operations and their activities, not in a month or a month and a half delay, rather on a weekly, daily basis. So yeah, definitely I vouch for Andrew and Amanda over there.
And it looks like Adam had a question about when he moves to Dubai next year. Could you touch base on that? Like
So basically we support US, sorry?
Go ahead.
We support, like, moving to Dubai. You can operate from wherever you want in the world, but we only support because we are very tight to regulations. We currently support U.S. and Canadian-based companies. So if you're LLC or you're part or whatever type of entity you will still be US-based. We'll be able to support you, regardless of where you are physically located. But if your entity will be filed in a different country that is not US or Canada, then we will not be able to support. In terms of Amazon or Shopify, we support Amazon Canada and US and Brazil, but we do not yet support other Amazon. By the way, this is because of how Amazon's structure works. They have different APIs. So we don't support, for example, Amazon UK. However, do not support means that we will not get the gross sales nicely divided into, I don't know, the discounts and refunds. However, we will get the net payout. We will always see how much Amazon paid you, even if it's Amazon UK. So a lot of our customers that have a blend, like they have, I don't know, 80% Amazon UK, Amazon US, and they have a bit of Amazon UK or anywhere else, then their non-US Amazon or non-Canadian or Brazil will be actually represented as a net amount, net sales. Hope this makes sense. It was a long answer, but I wanted to be detailed.
Long answer short, as long as you're a US based company, you're fine. You're good to go.
Sure, exactly. Yep.
Adam's on top of it. I'm so proud of him.
You should be.
We answered a lot of questions tonight, and I really appreciate your time and helping us sift through Finaloop. I do have these calls, like we have weekly calls. We had a call last night regarding another subject, but this was great, and it's recorded, so I can pop it in the chat for the people that weren't able to come. And I just want to reiterate that Finaloop's customer service team is top notch, and they will answer anything that you have. And of course, I'm here for you too. 10 years bookkeeping experience. So we have that in the Discord as well. If you have any questions regarding this, just drop it in the Money Monday tab regarding bookkeeping, and I'll try to answer as fast as I can. And or you guys can connect your books in the free trial that Finaloop offers with my link. And when you see your numbers, you'll get an idea. It's way better to try a trial or do a trial with your own numbers, so you can see what it looks like. If you're in there and you're looking at, Aster's screen here and you're like, wow, 62 million, it's just numbers that don't mean anything to you, right? So plug in your financial data with the free trial. No, there's no credit card information required on the free trial. So just plug and play around with it, and definitely ask questions if you have any. Okay, guys? All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
Bye-bye. Thanks for organizing this, Amanda and Andrew, and good luck everyone with Black Friday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.